Dmitry Muratov, Nobel Prize laureate. Dmitry, it's been over a year now of what Russia calls the special military operation and the rest of the world calls a war. Many in Russia still support Vladimir Putin, thinking victory is better than national shame. What would you say to that?
It's been 482 days of the special military operation. At the very beginning of it, people were stunned. Many without doubt believed that if we hadn't attacked, we would be attacked. Many even thought that Cain killed Abel because Abel was going to kill Abel. But now, all the purposes declared at the beginning stopped working. I have developed a sociological method of my own. Once a week, I check the price of T-shirts with the symbols of the special military operation, the letters V and Z. Over the last 482 days, they have dropped in price by approximately 85%. The war isn't selling well. Does Putin have support? Absolutely. No authority has ever stayed in power without people's support. Putin has a lot of support among the older generation. I can tell you the statistics. About 80% of people under the age of 35 are against the special military operation. They want peace as soon as possible. But about the same number of elderly people expect victory. The feeling of being part of a great nation is back. The idea is, when you can't overcome poverty, you should receive greatness instead. That is what happened. The older generation believes Vladimir Putin. He is like a son, a grandson, and a father to them. And that's definitely the case. Don't make the situation simpler than it actually is.
Это, безусловно, есть. Не надо ситуацию делать упрощенной.
What needs to happen for people in Russia to understand the scale of the tragedy of what they call the special military operation?
You can realize the scale of the tragedy when you see it, but propaganda requires a monopoly to work. All alternative sources of information were closed in Russia. Most journalists have been expelled. 30% of the almost 300 foreign agents in Russia are journalists. All investigative startups, independent of the Russian state media like Meduza, Echo of Moscow, TV Rain, Novaya Gazeta, they're either closed or in exile. So propaganda only works with a monopoly. And if Russia's authorities manage to ban YouTube, Telegram, and Wikipedia, propaganda will fulfill its mission, will become a monopolist, and then it will be incredibly easy to rule the country.
Пропаганда выполнит свою миссию, она окажется монополистом, и тогда управлять страной будет неимоверно просто.
Many of those in Europe and Germany and all over the world who speak for peace say that Ukraine could make some territorial concessions for peace to be reached. What could you say to that as someone who received a Nobel Peace Prize?
Look, I have always been a staunch opponent of bloodshed, since I've been to many wars and seen something I don't even want to remember. At the same time, I understand one thing. Only the people of Ukraine can answer the question whether they should keep defending their country or stop. Delegations can come to them. Influential retired politicians can write letters to them, can negotiate and haggle with them. But how can anyone not see it? In Ukraine, the society is much stronger than the state. In Russia, it's the other way around. The state is more powerful than society. So not even the most cunning plans can be implemented without asking the opinion of the people in Ukraine. So it's necessary to talk to the Ukrainian people, to show them the pros and cons of any plans.
Поэтому нужно разговаривать с украинским народом.
And only when the Ukrainian people say, let it be like this or be like that, then something will change.
Будет так или по-другому.
Before that,
Тогда что
it's not possible.
до этого это невозможно.
A final question for our Russian-speaking viewers and listeners. The Czech President Petr Pavel recently called for surveillance of Russians living in the West, citing America's World War II internment of Japanese people. That statement caused quite a stir. What's your reaction to that?
I don't have any opinion on any statement by the Czech president.
But do you think Russians should be under surveillance?
Let's ask this question in a different way. Are there any spies among the Russians living in exile? What do you think?
It's quite possible.
Of course. How can it be any other way? Are all Russians spies? Of course not. How many Russians don't want to kill or be killed? Most of them. And if anyone who doesn't want to kill or be killed is considered a spy, then we are definitely on the way to the times of McCarthyism. The generation who are leaving the country so they don't have to kill or be killed, who want to lead a fulfilled life, need to be helped and not restricted in their rights. Is it appropriate at all to talk about human rights in times of war? Well, it's now in these times of massacre that we need to talk about human rights. It's the right time. Because as soon as one forgets about it just a little, then hell happens, like the hell we're living in now.
Finally, there will come a time when the war is over. How do you see Russia's future on the international scene? I know you're not an astrologist or a futurologist, but still.
I am not an astrologist or futurologist, and thank God I'm not a political scientist. I know what a report or an investigation is, but I don't know about the future. What I know is that we need to live now. It's necessary to record the war crimes of any of the sides involved in this. It's necessary to seek the return of illegally abducted children. It's necessary to exchange prisoners. Dmitry Lubinets on the one hand and Titania Moskalkova on the other are making tremendous efforts. Together, they are very effective, even though they are very different, conflicting. One serves one's president, the other serves a different president, but it's necessary to help them. As I see it, international organizations which are not considered by Russia to be parties in the war, for example UNICEF or the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, should put their best effort into minimizing the humanitarian consequences of the conflict. What I mean is that there are 5.5 million children among Ukrainian refugees. Their present has been stolen. It's important to make sure that their future is not lost. That's what efforts should be combined to achieve. But what happens in the future, or when the last shot is fired, or whether it's fired in our lifetime, I don't know. I only know that we shouldn't wait for anything, but should work and act here and now, no matter what.
Dmitry Muratov, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, thank you very much.